What do you love most about this time of the year, when everything is just beginning to bud and blossom and the air is filled with birdsong and the sweet scents of spring? I don't know about you, but one of the things I really love about this time of year, especially in Scotland, is seeing all the bluebells and the daffodils and the cute baby lambs. Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Pelly. Welcome to the special omnibus edition of Journey with Story, where we are offering you all of this month's episodes in one place. One of the many things I love about good stories is that they can help you love the world a little more, help you see what is important about this life, and help you to be grateful for all the beauty that surrounds us. Oh, mums and dads and grown-ups, when I go to schools to talk about the importance of reading aloud to our children, I like to share this beautiful African proverb with parents and teachers. What we teach a child to love is more important than what we teach a child to learn. Thanks to all of you who are teaching your children to love stories. For this love of stories, I believe, helps our little ones to live life more joyfully, compassionately, and creatively. Now, let's take an omnibus journey with story. Now let's take a journey with 3 golden oranges. In the city of Granada, there lived a widow who had a handsome young son called Diego. One day she decided it was time for him to marry. "I will find you a wife," she said. But Diego wanted to find a wife for himself. "She must be the most perfect girl in the world," he said. So he set off to find her. He hadn't gone far from the city when he met a wise woman sitting in her doorway. He asked for her advice. "To find the most perfect girl in the world, you must journey into the Sierra Nevada mountains," said the wise woman. "There you must search for the garden of the 3 golden oranges. Pick the oranges and bring them to me. Then I will tell you what to do next." Diego thanked her and set off along the dusty road towards the mountains. By evening he found himself in the hills, where he came upon a golden castle. Diego rang the bell at the gate, and a girl with hair as yellow as ripe corn appeared. "Can you tell me where I can find the garden of the 3 oranges?" Diego asked her. "My father the sun may know," replied the girl. "He'll be home soon." Diego waited at the gate. Before long, the castle was flooded with dazzling light, and the sun appeared. Diego shaded his eyes. "Can you tell me how to find the garden of the 3 oranges?" he asked. "No," said the sun. "Go further up the mountain and ask my sister the moon. Quick, before I burn you to a cinder." Diego thanked the sun and hurried away. He walked on until he came to a silver castle. Diego rang the bell at the gate, and a girl with hair that shimmered like pearl appeared. "Can you tell me how to find the garden of the 3 oranges?" he asked. "No," replied the girl, "but I'll ask my mother, the moon." She disappeared into the castle and returned moments later. "Go higher into the mountains and ask my uncle, the east wind," she told him. Diego thanked her and walked on until he found a castle built of rock. When he rang the bell at the gate, a girl with hair as grey as mist appeared. "I'm looking for the garden of the 3 golden oranges," Diego told her. "Can you help me?" "My father, the East Wind, sees everything," replied the girl. "If you keep me company until he returns, I'll find out for you." Diego followed the girl into the castle, and she gave him some supper. Just as he finished eating, the windows began to rattle. Quickly the girl hid Diego in a chest and told him to stay quiet and listen. When the East Wind arrived home, the girl asked him about his travels. "Did you go all the way to the garden of the 3 golden oranges, father?" "That's not far," exclaimed the East Wind. "It lies just over the highest mountain peak. You can see it if you stand on the top." Diego smiled secretly to himself. When the East Wind and his daughter went to bed, he crept out of the castle and set off once more up the steep trail to the snowy mountain top. Sure enough, when he reached the highest peak, Diego saw a beautiful garden lying below, set like an emerald in the snow. He hurried down to it and pushed open the gate. The garden was filled with fragrant flowers and bubbling fountains. At its center stood a fine orange tree with 3 golden fruit. Diego picked the golden oranges. Then he slipped out of the garden and started his long journey home. When Diego reached the hot, dusty road to Granada, he stopped to rest. "These oranges look juicy," he thought to himself. "They can't do any harm to eat just one." As soon as he cut open the orange, out stepped a tiny young woman. She jumped off his hand and stood before him, where she grew at once to normal size. Diego stared at her in amazement. The girl gazed at him over her fan. "Will you give me some bread?" she asked. "I don't have any," said Diego in dismay. "Then I shall return to my tree," she said, and she became small again, curled up inside her orange, and disappeared. Diego looked at the other 2 oranges thoughtfully. He walked on until he came to a goat herd's hut, where he asked for a piece of bread. Then he sat down and cut open the 2nd orange. Out stepped another girl, more fascinating than the first. She jumped off his hand and stood before him. "Will you give me some bread?" she asked. Diego smiled and handed her a piece of the bread. "And will you give me some water?" With a heavy heart, Diego told her he hadn't any. "Then I shall return to my tree," she said, and she grew small again, curled up in her orange, and disappeared. Diego started to feel bad that he hadn't followed the wise woman's advice. However, he couldn't resist trying the 3rd orange. But first, he found a stream, and then he cut the fruit open. Out stepped a girl with bright eyes full of wisdom and the smile of a warm, tender heart. Diego knew his search was over. He had found the most perfect girl in the world. She jumped from his hand and stood before him. "Will you give me some bread?" she asked. Diego gave her the bread. "And will you give me some water?" Diego scooped some water from the stream in his hands and gave it to her to drink. Then the girl smiled. "From now on, we shall eat and drink together and live happily ever after." Diego's heart leapt with joy. He took her hand and they walked on. Before long they came to an inn. "I shall ask the innkeeper for a carriage and horses," said Diego, and he went inside. To keep out of the sun, the girl sat up in the shady branches of an olive tree growing beside a well. No sooner had Diego gone than a steely-eyed old woman came along. She shuffled among the customers sitting outside the inn, stealing cunningly from their pockets. Suddenly, she glanced up and saw the girl watching her. "What did you see up in that tree?" she snapped. Quick as a cat, she climbed the tree and stuck a magic pin into the girl. At once, the girl turned into a little white dove. When Diego came out of the inn, he searched everywhere for his bride, but she was nowhere to be seen. In despair, he sat by the well and wept. To his surprise, he saw the reflection of the little white dove on the branch above, weeping with him. "Come with me, little dove," said Diego. "We'll go to the wise woman and ask her advice." The wise woman listened to Diego's tale. She noticed how the little dove nestled closely in his arms. "There's magic at work here," she muttered. She stroked the dove and found the old woman's pin. Gently, she pulled the pin out, and the girl from the golden orange appeared before them, unharmed. Diego was overjoyed. "Now you have returned the most perfect girl in the world to me. I shall never lose her again," he promised. And filled with love and pride, he took his bride home to be wed. Now, let's take a journey with The Three Sons, a story from Nigeria. There was once a chief who had 3 sons, of whom he was very proud. They were very different, but each one was talented in some way. One morning, as he sat in the council chamber with his councillors, who were dressed in full white robes, he asked them to help him assess which of his 3 sons was the most talented. "I'd really like to know," he said. "Let's meet at the baobab tree. My sons will join us there as well." As the councillors moved slowly towards the tree in the hot sun, the chief's 3 sons appeared in the distance, each one astride a fine horse. When he had silenced the crowd, the chief said, "Each son will ride his horse in turn. He may do whatever he chooses, but on approaching the baobab tree, he must prove himself as best he can." The councillors looked at him with anticipation of what the boys would do. "Then we can assess who is the most talented of my sons," said the chief. Hordes of people joined the councillors next to the baobab tree and chatted excitedly as they awaited the arrival of the chief's first son. It was not long before he approached the crowd on his fine black horse, which kicked up the dust with its thundering hooves. Then the chief's first son rode determinedly towards the baobab tree, travelling in a straight path. With a sharp thrust of his spear, the rider stabbed the tree with such strength that it gouged out a hole right through the trunk of the tree. Then he rode straight through the hole on his horse, stopping only when he had reached the other side. The crowd gasped at such a display of strength and clapped as they saw the first son bring his horse to a halt and pat it on the flanks. Then it was the turn of the second son. As the people beside the baobab tree chattered and waited in eager anticipation of the next feat, the boy came nearer, riding his horse on the dry earth, its hoof marks forming a tattoo. Then all of a sudden the horse of the second son took off and cantered straight for the tree, leaving a trail of dust. For a while the people were afraid, as they thought that he would ride right into the tree and meet his death. But as they approached the baobab, the horse and rider leapt into the air and climbed ever higher until they had cleared the tree. The people stared up at the cloudless blue sky in amazement, watching the rider and horse coming down to earth with a thump. The horse stumbled, and it looked as though the chief's son and his mare would both fall. But they steadied themselves. Then the son jumped off his horse proudly, wiping his sweaty face and hands. With expectations raised, the crowd jostled as they awaited the arrival of the chief's third son on his stallion. They had seen two amazing feats. Strongly he rode straight towards the baobab tree, urging his horse on. Then suddenly, when he was level with the branches of the tree, he grabbed them with his bare hands and pulled until he had unearthed the whole tree, exposing its roots to the air. The crowd looked on in silent disbelief as he uprooted the tree. Then the chief's third son dusted off his hands and galloped towards his father as the crowd clapped with thunderous applause. They were in awe of the performances of the three talented sons. Now, let's take an Encore Easter journey with The Tale of Three Trees. Once upon a mountain top, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars and said, "I want to hold treasure. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world." The second little tree looked out at the river trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to set sail on the high seas, carrying powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where men and women were hard at work in a busy, bustling town. I don't want to leave the mountain top at all. I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they'll raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world. Years passed, and the little trees grew tall. One day, 3 woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the first tree fell. "Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest. I shall hold wonderful treasure," the first tree said. The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell. "Now I shall sail the mighty seas," thought the second tree. "I shall be a strong ship for noble kings." The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven. But the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered. With a swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought her to a carpenter's shop, but the carpenter fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. She was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took her to a shipyard. But no mighty ship was made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and chiselled into a simple fishing boat. She was too small and too weak to sail to an ocean or even a river. Instead, she was taken to a small lake. The third tree was bewildered when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in a lumberyard. What happened? The once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted was to stay on the mountain top and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed. The 3 trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, silver starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in the feed box. I wish I could make a cradle for him, her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and the sturdy wood. This manger is beautiful, she said, and suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. One evening, a tired traveller and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveller fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon, a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. She knew she did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hand, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun, and suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were hauled away from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. As she was lifted up on the mountain top, she felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. Now, every time people saw her, she could point them to God. And so her dream had come true after all. Now, let's take a journey with the 3 gifts. Old King Vaclav was sitting on his throne with a worried frown. "What troubles you, my dear?" asked the Queen. "Your kingdom is peaceful, your people are happy, and our 3 sons have grown into fine young men." The king sighed. "It is time for me to decide which of our sons will reign when I am gone," he told her. "But they were born together on the same day, so how can I choose between them?" The queen remembered the joyful day when the 3 princes, Victor, Vincent, and Vladislav, were born. Now they had grown into kind, clever, brave young men, and their parents loved them equally. "You must choose the son who will serve our people best," she advised her husband. "Wise words, my dear," said the king, and he sent for the 3 princes. "The time has come for me to choose an heir," he told them. "Go out and search the kingdom for a gift that will be of service to our people. The one whose gift is the greatest shall be the king when I am gone." The 3 princes promised to do as their father asked. The following day they set off together, excited about their quest. After riding all morning, they came to a place where the road split 3 ways. "Here we must part," said Victor. He wished his brothers luck, and each of them went on alone. The road Victor chose brought him to a land of fields and meadows. He travelled through a lush green valley where he found an orchard of apple trees laden with golden fruit gleaming in the sunlight. As Victor gazed at the fruit, the wind whispered softly in his ear, "Find the magic apple and search no more." Filled with wonder, the young prince stepped into the orchard. A bent old woman was gathering fallen apples from the ground. She stopped to rub her aching back. "Let me help you," said Victor. "I can climb the trees and pick as many apples as you want." The old woman was grateful for his help. Before long, Victor had picked enough golden fruit to fill her baskets. To thank him, she produced a strange apple from her pocket. White as snow, with cheeks that glowed like a pale sun on a frosty morning. "The magic apple," murmured Victor. The old woman nodded. "Take it in return for your kindness," she said. "A person has only to smell it, and they will be cured of any sickness." Victor was delighted. "This will serve our people better than the wisest doctor," he thought to himself, and he set off for home at once. Meanwhile, Vincent had chosen a road which brought him to a land of lakes and waterways. He followed a wide river down to the sea. Anchored off the shore was a magnificent ship with sparkling silver sails. As Vincent gazed across the water, the wind whispered in his ear, "Find the magic mirror and search no more." Filled with wonder, Vincent asked a fisherman to row him to the ship. To his surprise, the captain was expecting him. "How did you know I was coming?" asked Vincent. The captain handed him a silver mirror. "I saw you here," he explained. "The magic mirror," murmured Vincent. "Yes," said the captain. "It will show you whatever you wish to see." "Oh, this mirror would serve our people well," thought Vincent. "It could show me if anyone was in trouble." He asked the captain if he would sell it. "The mirror is not for sale," said the captain. "But if you can read the message written around the frame, then it is yours." The message was written in the language of the mermaids. However, as Vincent studied it, the meaning revealed itself. "Should by chance belong to thee, keep me safe and never lose me." "Well read," cried the captain. "The mirror is yours. May it serve you well." Vincent rowed back to shore, eager to return home with his precious gift. Meanwhile, the road Vladislav had chosen led to a land of hills and forests. The path became steep and brought him to the top of a ridge. From there he saw a city white as marble, with tall towers shining in the sunlight. As Vladislav gazed at it, the wind whispered in his ear, "Find the magic carpet and search no more." Filled with wonder, Vladislav took a path down to the city. When he entered the gates, he found himself in a bustling market, overflowing with silks and jewels, perfumes and spices. The prince spied a carpet embroidered with silver and gold. "The magic carpet," he murmured. A merchant standing beside it smiled. "Yes," he said, "this carpet can fly through the sky, swifter than time itself." "Here is something that could serve our people well," thought Vladislav. "If anyone needed help, I could reach them at the speed of lightning." He asked the merchant to sell him the carpet. "It is not for sale," the merchant told him. "It is waiting for the one who can command it to fly. Would you like to try?" Vladislav sat on the carpet. "Take me to the clouds and back again," he cried. Instantly, the carpet rose and soared into the sky, carrying the prince high over the city, up to the clouds, and back to the market again. "The carpet is yours," said the merchant. "May it serve you well." Vladislav thanked him and made good use of the carpet straight away to fetch his brothers and carry them all home. The king and queen marveled to hear how the three princes had discovered their magical gifts. However, the king found it impossible to decide which gift was the greatest. "I'm no closer to choosing an heir," he told the queen with a sigh. "Each gift will be of great service to our people," the queen said thoughtfully. "But they would be much more useful together. Vincent's mirror would show him when anyone was ill. Vladislav could fly to their aid, and Vincent could cure them with his magic apple. Why not share your kingdom between them?" The king smiled at his wife's wise words. He sent for the three princes. "Each of you shall be a king after me," he told his sons.
Victor shall be king of the fields and meadows. Vincent shall be king of the rivers and lakes, and Vladislav shall be king of the hills and forests. Sharing your gifts will be the greatest service to our people. And so it was that when the old king died, his 3 sons ruled together, and they served their people well for many, many years.
Well, which one of these stories did you love the most? Don't forget to check our blog posts where you can find some discussion questions and background information on our featured Story of the Month. Just go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the blog tab. You can see the link in our episode notes too. Here's to stories that help us all to live life more joyfully, compassionately and creatively. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.